There will be times on your reality shifting journey that you're going to feel at your wit's end. You might feel as though you don't understand that you're supposed to be shifting to this beautiful reality, and instead, what you observe is this mountain of disaster looming. And these are the moments that it is really important for you to keep the faith and to close your eyes, go inward, find your balance. Sometimes when I am really struggling, I imagine myself on a surfboard. I've only been surfing once. I wanted to go more when I was in Costa Rica, but it wasn't the right time. I was focused on personal development and meditation and making music and things like that. But anyway, I always imagine myself balancing on a surfboard and taking the wave gracefully and really pushing my feet onto the board and stretching my toes out and shifting my weight on my foot in order to be able to really ride the wave instead of letting the wave ride me. And I almost do this as this visualization exercise as a way to find that internal balance. And you're welcome to use that visualization too if it works for you. But there needs to be something that you go to inside yourself. And this is important because when we try to cope with things outside of ourselves, drugs, alcohol, people, work, whatever it is, right? This doesn't help us when we are in situations where we don't have access to those things. And when you're reality shifting, just to prepare you, sometimes you might be in a place temporarily where you can't get a hold of anybody, or you don't have your personal handheld communication device, or you might be locked up and they don't give you your medicine, or they don't have it, or your support system is inaccessible. And so by having an internal anchor and a soothing mechanism, you allow yourself to be able to calm your nervous system. And this is why closing the eyes is also important too. And trying to relax and going inward instead of outward. Because this is where the feeling of faith is. This is where you can access your intuition and that deep knowing that no matter what the world looks like when you open your eyes, no matter how chaotic it seems, you know that there is a lifeline that you're anchored to, that is waiting to come to you, or waiting to come into fruition, waiting to be revealed to you, that you just haven't seen yet. And there is a deep knowing that is around your, it's like, I guess people will experience it differently, but around the sacral chakra, around the solar plexus, perhaps around the root chakra, but maybe not so much. But I feel it more in my sacral and my solar plexus, and strongly in my solar plexus when it's active. This deep feeling that I don't care what I read on the news, I know I'm going somewhere that is going to be wonderful to live in. And it may not happen tomorrow, it may not happen tonight, it may not happen in the time frame that I hope that it does. But I know that it's happening, and all I have to do is find my internal compass and really lean on that And it does feel like a needle, not like one of those sewing needles, but like a magnetic needle that is pointing in a certain direction. And it feels like it's active and it's pointing to some direction in the sky. And I can't see what's there yet, but I can feel it energetically that it is okay. And it will be okay. And even when I don't understand what is going on, like when I look at the world sometimes, I had a moment today where I was like, I think I'm in the wrong place, And then I went inward and I was like, no, I'm in the right place. But I don't know. It's just not making sense to me. Like, what's going on? And for a different project, I started looking up some patents and some technologies for human hacking, and it's very much real and it's way more robust than I anticipated. And I had one of those freak out moments where I was like, oh my God, where am I at? I'm in hell. I'm definitely in hell. And yet at the same time, I can feel that this is the path. And this is my path in particular. I don't want to say it's your path, but it's my path to know this, to have this revealed, to have this as a truth. And it's not something I manifested. It's not something that I put on a vision board, human hacking, but it is something that I wrote in a manifestation journal when I was crossing the Bardos. And I could feel that I was going to reincarnate in a realm where human hacking was a really big issue and that there was advanced technology. But I thought it was going to look differently. I didn't think I was going to be in my same body with my same name. I thought it was going to work a little differently. Like they talk about in Buddhism, where you just like evaporate into the next life. And anyway, so turns out that I might actually be in that human hacking place. And so I'm having to come to terms with that. And anyway, so the point is that I had one of those moments, and it reminded me of this principle of keeping the faith, identifying the feeling of faith. And especially if you're caught up in doom scrolling. Like sometimes I get caught up in doom scrolling too, where I'm like, what's going on? What's going on with the world that I'm in? Oh my God, it looks catastrophic. There's revolution's definitely happening, and there's like levels of awareness and then also moments of WTF. And that's when it's really, really important to be able to center yourself. Because remember, as I said in one of the other episodes, it may look like you're going to hell. You may even be on a highway to hell. And the analogy I thought of today was like hell's at mile marker 666, or so they say. That's what's in propaganda. And it's very much alive. And hey, I grew up Christian, and that was embedded in me too. But when we think about the things that are embedded in us, we need to take a very critical look at them, right? Because anything that capitalizes on our fears makes us susceptible to things like mind control and sublimation and things of that nature. So the fallen angels, and there's this whole mythology and lore and storytelling that is designed to hook into us energetically. And so when we see symbols like 666, oh my God, did you see that on the WEF backdrop on their poster? What are you talking about? On the World Economic Forum, did you see that? Like apparently one of their logos, they had 666. Well, if you squinted and crossed your eyes, then it could be seen. Or if you happen to be brainwashed and have that symbology hooked into you, then it was readily available for your mind to decode and process. to validate this internal fear, which would create this resistance against the World Economic Forum, which would then cause you to act out and behave against anybody that was representing or a proponent of it, right? You see how it works. So we have to just be careful when we're using symbols. So when I say that we're on a highway to hell and it's at mile marker 666, to use that symbology, but to be very cognizant of what it means to use that symbology. We're on that highway, but we're getting off, let's say, at mile marker 555. And we're right now at mile marker 333. And so we're going to take an exit ramp before we get all the way to hell. But in the meantime, we're going to see the scenery change and we're going to see things start to come into fruition. But what's really important to keep in mind is that some of the infrastructure may be shared. And for example, like with the Industrial Revolution, think about before that happened. I reference that a lot because it's really important, because we're about to go through like 2.0 Industrial Revolution, but instead of factory machines, we're going to have like robotic machines. We already have those, but it's going to be like AI embedded in plants and AI ChatGPT embedded in the workplace. And what does it mean and how does it happen? And we're starting down that path of this new massive transformation. So it's helpful to look back at the last one to see how we effed it up so we don't do it again. And when we think about where we were and where society was before the Industrial Revolution happened, it was the wild, wild west. Like, seriously, it was the wild, wild west. I don't even think they had post offices, and they didn't really have doctors. They definitely didn't have hospitals. I don't even know if they had schools. I'm sure they had people teaching, but, like the infrastructure that built society, they didn't really have banks. They definitely didn't have global banking. And so we think about the snapshot of what life was like then. And we needed railroads, right? And who built the railroads? Some capitalist, greedy people. Motherfuckers is what I want to say. Some capitalist, greedy motherfuckers, apparently. That's just the reality, apparently. And I guess it kind of makes sense because, as I mentioned before, if we had a society full of Mother Teresas, nothing would get done. We would not have railroads. We would not have mass transportation. We would not have electric cars. We would not have drones. Mother Teresa's not going to be building a drone, But some greedy capitalist mofo is. And so as a result, we have some really cool things that have come into society. But because of the greedy capitalism, there have been some negative side effects too. So that's what I'm hoping that we're going to do differently. And so as a result, if we're going down that highway, then we need to be close enough to the new infrastructure, but we don't need to go all the way to the oppressive version of it as reality shifters. And so we need to take the exit ramp before we go all the way to hell. And that's where being very in tune with your intuition and your timing is important, because it's counterintuitive. Because think about it, you're like, I'm just going to reality shift to where none of that stuff happens. Okay, so you're going to stay in a reality that is unchanging, is what you're saying. You're going to stay in a greedy capitalist society that actually is just hidden. Like, all this stuff's coming to light. It's been in existence, right? And so embracing the change, even when it seems counterintuitive, is actually a big part of keeping the faith. It is saying, I don't know how things are going to turn out. And I'm kind of scared about it. Sometimes I am actually really terrified about it. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I'm keeping the faith that it's going to turn out okay. And it's going to turn out okay in my lifetime. Like, I'm not trying to wait 800 years for everything to be okay again. And some predictions are like that. And I'm like, I didn't sign up for that, did I? Eesh. Hopefully not. Anyway, so going inward and connecting with your intuition, like, you will feel if you're not really going to be okay. You'll feel it because it'll prompt you to move. It'll prompt you to change. Like, for some reason, I felt that before the pandemic, and I was in a position in my life where I could answer that call. I had just uprooted my life, left my everything in Texas, took a couple of suitcases to LA, and thought I was going to stay there, but only stayed there for like a week or two, and then got the intuition that I needed to go. And so I took everything and I went to Costa Rica. And I happened to do that literally right before the pandemic started, without any awareness that all of that was going to go down. So you'll feel it when you're supposed to move. You'll feel it when you're not in the right place and you're not in the right time, or if you've missed your exit. It's a very discernible feeling of discomfort, a very discernible, like, inward gnawing at you. You know, sometimes it'll even keep you up at night. You'll find it hard to go to sleep, or you'll obsessively just start like looking at rentals in other cities, and you'll start daydreaming about this move to someplace that you have no reason to want to go to. And it'll just call to you, and it'll call to you. And sometimes you even get like an idea of the timing, you know, like it could happen 6 months before you're supposed to get on a plane. And you can start to feel those nudges. And it's almost like the universe's way of getting you ready and prepared for it. And so by trusting that internal sense of timing, you can practice being in tune with your intuition. So that connects you to your faith. And you'll know if your faith is real or imaginary. Because if you're like, I'm keeping the faith, oh my God, and you're white knuckling it the entire time, and you don't really believe it, you know? Like, faith is like one of those things when logic tells you not to believe in something, you still believe. When logic tells you not to believe in a certain person, it's like nobody else believes in them except for you. Or it'll be like you have all of the reason in the world not to trust them, but there's some part of you that deep down you still know they're good for it in the end. But in that moment, it may not be the right moment to reconnect. It may not be the right moment to like invest your life savings with them or to open up a business with them, right? But it's like, you know that when that obstacle is removed or when that lesson clicks into place, like in the end, they're good for it. Or you know, like you're in separation, but your twin flame or the love of your life, you know that you're going to reconnect and you just feel it. And even though you might have other partners in the interim, deep down, you just know. I don't have that feeling with any of my soul partners or twin flames, but I know that there are people that do, and that just have a resonance that they will be together at some point. So when you connect with that inward feeling, it doesn't come from the mind, it doesn't come from the brain, it doesn't come from wishful thinking. It comes from a deep, deep knowing. And that deep knowing is centered in your body. It's usually, at least for me, centered around my stomach, sometimes in my heart chakra as well, but definitely in my gut and in my stomach. And that's where there's a resonance of it's like it's a weird way to describe it, bear with me, but it's like a mountain of dirt that's kind of like in your auric field, where it feels solid. It doesn't feel like it's part of your normal foundation, but it's like this pile that's just really, really solid, and a gust of wind isn't going to come and like blow it over. But it's movable and it's climbable, but it's just this resting feeling of solidity that's just what it is. And you know that's just what it is. That's what faith feels like. And it feels like even if the world looks like it's ending, you're like, yeah, I'm a reality shifter. Oh, you are too? Yeah, we're gonna tap out of this one, you know? Or maybe we're just gonna pop into another reality after the world ends. So I'm not sweating it. Let me connect with my growth curve and the highest expression of who I'm supposed to be and my purpose. Make sure I'm in alignment so I can pop into that other reality when everything blows up. And I think we'll be good. Everything looks like it's going according to plan. So I just got to sit back and enjoy the ride. It kind of feels like that. But the mind is the one that's like grasping and trying to hold on to the old. What? We can't change? No. Yes, we have to change. It's scheduled. And it's scheduled in astrology. It's been scheduled for thousands of years. We can't hit the snooze button. There is no way to hit the snooze button. It's been in the making for a very long time, which is a really interesting question, you know? What is evil exactly, if evil apparently has been planned and we're going according to plan? You know, like what do we make out of all of it? We can have a calendar invite for the end of the world. So maybe evil was necessary at this stage to build this infrastructure, and now we move on to an evolved evil? Maybe. Maybe we integrate evil with good. I don't know. I don't have the answers. I'm just, rambling right now, but it's interesting, like Mother Teresa's and Jesus's wouldn't have gotten us here. And we've done pretty good as a species. We're ready for the next step, but I don't think we need to do it with the evil, greedy capitalists this time around. So we'll see. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So listen, if you want to work one-on-one, feel free to reach out to me. We can just actually have a great time reality shifting. I like to build a co-creation with people as a foundation first to help you slipstream out of where you're trying to get away from, and also to find what our highest co-creation is if we have one together. And I have a lot of collaborations out there in the ether, so you could be one of them. And I really like to help you vibrate with your sense of purpose and help you to monetize the next ideas of your life that break you away from these old structures, like working 9 to 5s. Eesh, who likes to do that, right? Like, business is changing, and it's really exciting, actually. And the ways to make money have definitely changed. And a lot of people don't know that, or are stuck in the old paradigms because we're only just now very early at this shift point, right? And so awakening what your purpose is and your highest destiny and connecting you with new ways of building revenue for yourself is part of what I offer in the reality shifting coaching as well. So if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out to me at sacredjourneyproductions.com sacredjourneyproductions@gmail.com. And remember to keep the faith.